second thing that causes cells to atrophy is the loss of energy through what we call innervation. Innervation. What is innervation? Innervation is when every day you're demanding more energy than you're putting back in. So what happens is most people live in a stressed life. It's not physical stress for most people. They call it physical stress. Physical stress was when you used to be out in the jungle trying to chase down something that you were hunting and you could get killed yourself. Physical stress, most people don't do in society anymore. Physical work. Most people, it's psychological stress. All day long, they're racing. They're making their whole bloodstream go crazy, working overtime, releasing all these chemicals in the body that don't support the body, and it's all triggered by an undisciplined mind. That's why one of the principles we're going to talk today about is how to direct your own mind to be healthy as well. You can't leave that out. So people have all this stress, and what happens is you get all the stress in your body, and sure enough, you use nerve energy. And then pretty soon, you try to go to sleep, and most of you have eaten in a way where while you're sleeping, you're not resting. Your body's working trying to break down all the junk you put in there. So you wake up in the morning tired. Why are you tired? Because your body did not rest. You slept, but your body didn't rest. So there's no buildup of nerve energy. You've been depleting it. You do this day after day after day. You get to a place that most of us call lowered resistance. What it really is a state of innervation, lowered nerve energy, because the demands have been so high and the chance to fulfill or rest has been so low. Third, diminished blood supply. Why would diminished blood supply cause cells to become weaker? Anybody know? That's right, less oxygen. You're going to learn today that if you will train in a very gentle, comfortable, aerobic fashion, where you can exercise and keep carrying on a conversation, no pain whatsoever, that just by doing that for a period for most of you of anywhere from 6 weeks to 2.5 months, you can increase your blood supply massively, most people by 20 to 25%. It's unbelievable, the latest research, because now what happens is when you increase all this aerobic power, all this additional blood in your body, it means you got tons more what? Energy, because you have a lot more what available? Oxygen. See, people think, oh, I got to go do my aerobic exercise so I look good. You need to go do your aerobic exercise so you got enough blood, keep every cell in your body strong so you're unstoppable. So it shows up in everything you do in life. You got to make sure you do that. And that's why sometimes when people are just doing weight workouts, they get great muscles, but they don't have a lot of energy. They get fatigued real easily because they're missing that balance. Fourthly, inadequate nutrition causes cells to atrophy. Inadequate nutrition. If you don't have the nutrients, the body does not have the energy to create the right ATP and to create the energy that you need. 5, loss of endocrine stimulation. Loss of endocrine stimulation. What that means is through time, people go through various emotional stages in their life. Sometimes what happens is to avoid pain, we literally shut ourselves down emotionally. To do that, we literally shut down the flow of certain chemicals in our body. Those chemicals are critical for the lifeblood of various cells. So very often our emotional pattern will literally make a change in how our cells function. So one of the things you did yesterday when you developed these new beliefs is every one of you in this room made shifts in your biochemistry yesterday. In fact, you live by those beliefs and you let go of some of those fears, it changes the endocrine stimulation in your body, and you'll find that you're going to have a different flow of energy. That's why I said when you eliminate fear for people, the amazing shifts in their energy that occur. And lastly, and this all comes, by the way, from a book I'll give you, which is The Basis of Disease, and that is aging, he said. But as I went through his notes, he said aging is the process, he's described it, of the accumulation of toxins in the system, so that what happens is cells become weaker and weaker, and it usually accumulates more and more through time. Because most people do not do things to detoxify or cleanse their system. They just keep doing the same thing day after day. So that's really what makes a cell weak. So then the big question is, what causes disease? Now we've been taught for a long time that the cause of disease was germs. But the reality is, anybody who really is studying disease today on a large scale, in fact, I'll give you the answer to why you want to give up this germ theory. Here it is right here. This is called Robbins' pathological basis of disease. No relation. This Robbins is from Harvard. And so what's interesting is this is the current textbook used at Harvard and used at many medical schools around the United States. Remember what I told you about the half-life of medical education being 4 years? Right? I'll give you an idea. Here is, I'm going to just read you something. In chapter 1, page 1, which incidentally is on cellular injury and adaptation. It's talking about the etiology or the cause of disease. The concept of one cause leading to one disease developed largely from the discovery of specific infectious agents as the causes of specific diseases is no longer sufficient. I couldn't believe when I found this. This is currently being taught to medical doctors all over the United States. They're being taught germs are not the single cause of disease. They can contribute to it, but they are not the cause. When you got the flu, isn't a little flu virus that's jumping in and getting you. It has to be a series of factors. And we're going to talk about why we find these particular germs around and what they do and how they support us. Continue. Although it's true that there would be no malaria without malarial parasites, or no tuberculosis without tubercle bacilli, and no gout without a derangement in the urate metabolism, underline this: not all individuals infected with these organisms or born with this metabolic abnormality develop the disease. So we're saying here, and this is a fact, is a lot of people have all these germs, but they don't have anything happen in their body ever. So if germs are the cause, there's no such thing in science as a cause without a what? Effect. That's what he's pointing out here. Okay? So he says, or develop it at the same rate or with the same severity. This is not Tony Robbins, this is the man from Harvard telling you this is the basis of all disease. And yet, when you open your newspaper and we get here near January 1, I guarantee you're going to be hearing about that flu bug coming to get you again. Yep, it's coming. It's going to get you. Has nothing to do with your lifestyle. It's that bug going to get you. Because then if it's your lifestyle, then you might have to be responsible or something. And plus, we can't sell you anything if it's your lifestyle and it's you. In fact, you might even not buy some of the things we have, if that were true. So we got to make sure that you continue to be fragile and know that it's not you, it's just these bugs getting you, which we're going to approach. Here's the cause of disease. Health is what? Health is what? Energy. So the cause of disease is a lack of energy, which we really call disease is due to a deficiency of force. That's according to Dr. Isaac Jennings. Disease is due to a deficiency of force. Deficiency of force. Now, what does that mean? Well, I'll give you an example. Dr. Isaac Jennings is a very famous allopathic medical doctor in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And Isaac Jennings, one day, just doing his normal allopathic medicine, he'd been working for 15 years as a traditional doctor, medical doctor. He started having some challenges in his city where they were unable to get some drugs to treat people with. There was a shortage. So people came to see him and they were completely freaked out. So what he did was, he didn't treat them because there was nothing there. And he said, you know what I'd rather you do? Go home and rest, drink lots of fluids, the kind of stuff most people tell you to do after you've had the flu shot and you still get the flu, what you should do, right? And so sure enough, these people got well without any treatment, which just fried his brain because it broke his what? And it caused him to question some of his what? And all of a sudden he wasn't so certain about the cause of disease, even though he'd gone through the traditional medical education, which, by the way, you talk about having compassion for a doctor, go watch what a doctor has to go through to make it through medical school. You talk about a dehumanizing process. Unbelievable what these people go through. First of all, just to get into medical school, you got to be a genius, right? And you learn from day one, you can never be wrong, because if you are, you're out. And medical school is the process of not only physically destroying somebody, because you give them more physical work than they can possibly do. Many doctors have to use all kinds of stimulants to stay up just to study. So they already learn to become dependent on chemicals. But in addition to this, they're constantly trying to push you over the edge. And the reason they're doing that is because they're afraid in real life, in life and death situations, you're going to fall out. So they want to make you fall out still in medical school. So it is a totally abusive, destructive, dehumanizing process where doctors have zero time to stop and say, does this make sense to me? They have to know the answer they're being taught and be able to give it immediately or they're gone. All out of their desire to help other people, right? Unbelievable what they're put through. And then they learn, boy, you better be right. Then they go to the residency and boy, you better be right. So their whole life better be right, because not being right means the end. And then we expect them to be right always and not to be a human. Pretty crazy. So this man fortunately got out of all that conditioning, and what he began to do was ask new what? And guess? Questions. And that produced even more doubt and gave him a break in his pattern to look at other possibilities. So what he began to do is an experiment. He decided that he was going to start treating people and just see what would happen with only two things: colored water and bread pills. which are called what? Placebos. Now, most of you know that placebos absolutely change people. In fact, any disease known to man currently today, when they do a test, a certain percentage of them will use a placebo, no drugs, and people get well no matter what. And it varies based upon which study you read, but it's usually anywhere from 1/4 to 30%, just by a placebo, meaning they don't even get the person to change their habits or anything else. Just the belief that they're going to get better. Their mind giving the direction. 25%, 30% on average. In virtually any disease you can imagine. What he found was something really amazing. He added to placebo some instructions about lifestyle. Just told them some things to do that would allow them to build up their nerve energy, because what he began to see is these people are just run down. And so now when they're run down state, of course, all the things in the world that normally there to support you, to eliminate waste like germs, now they start to build up and take over because the natural process of the body is so weakened. So he'd give them this stuff, and they'd say, no, I want you to rest, I want you to drink these fluids, I want you to go out and do a little movement. He'd give them this exercise. And he documented every single case for 20 years. He treated everything from polio to smallpox to the flu, never once using a drug for any one patient in 20 years, and kept track of the results. He kept track of his results compared to everybody else in the county in which he lived, how often his patients even came back to see him, how often it took for them to make it through the disease. Documented it and wanted to have his life's work, which he called the no medicine approach to medicine. He thought for sure he would win the Nobel Prize. What do you think happened when he came out with this study? He was viciously attacked by the traditional medical approach. And he was also attacked very intensely, as you might guess. By the way, he developed many other doctors who agreed with him and did many studies over the next 10 or 20 years, and they created something called the Natural Hygiene Society, which exists to this day. Natural hygiene is a philosophy of health. Most of what I'm going to talk to you about today, in terms of what to do to make things better, really comes from the concepts of natural hygiene. And people throughout human history obviously didn't call it natural hygiene, but practiced the same fundamental principles. And the problem is, at the same time he was doing this company called organization called the AMA was being formed, and there was a difference in funding, because one had something called drug companies. And a certain amount of funding certainly makes a little bit of a difference in how much influence you have in society. And so the bottom line is that AMA became stronger and he became weaker, and he was actually attacked even by his own patients. He was sued by several people because they came at him saying, you told us you were giving drugs, we paid for real drugs, and you gave us this, even though he showed them that they got well faster than people traditionally did. Because people have a mindset. Anyway, he was a genius. And his work really unleashed a lot of people over the last 100 years or so. But he's the one who said disease is due to a deficiency of force, because here's what's happening. You work hard, you play hard, you overeat, you exert yourself, you put out all this nerve energy. Now you have a lowered level of energy called innervation. When the body has a lowered level of energy, let me tell you the first thing that happens. It doesn't have energy to make everything in your body work. So what does it got to constantly make work? Your heart, your blood flow, what else? Your brain, right? All the basic process of biochemistry. So you know what your body does? As soon as it has lowered levels of energy, the first thing that shuts off is the process of elimination. That's right. How many of you ever found this? You're like really, really burnt out and tired, and elimination is not happening quite as often. Can we talk here? Say aye. So what happens is you no longer eliminate. It may not be that you're not eliminating at all, but you're not eliminating as rapidly as you're building the waste up. Does that make sense? And remember, every moment of your life, even if you're not putting poison in your body, the process of metabolism is cells are dying. The body knows how to get rid of it. What are the 4 avenues of elimination that are available to the body? They're here at the bottom. 4 avenues of elimination. How do you eliminate poisons? How does your body do it when it's got toxins? Number 1 is the skin. The skin. Why is the skin number 1? It's the largest eliminative organ you have in your body. When you got poisons in the air, boy, it pushes out the skin as fast as it can, get it out of the bloodstream, get it out of the system as fast as it can. And we have all kinds of names depending upon which part of the skin it comes out and what shape it takes on. But it's basically the body getting rid of toxins, eliminating through the skin. Second area is the lungs and respiratory tract. So you spit up this phlegm, you cough. These are ways for your body to get rid of toxins. Third, the third is the bowels, the colon, right? Major way to eliminate, a way that most people get clogged up and don't use very effectively, and as a result experience a lot of disease in the body. And fourthly, of course, is the urinary tract. Urinary tract. So what we've got to be able to see is just by being innervated alone. Our nerve energy drops, the toxins start building up. As they build up in the body's bloodstream, there gets a point where we hit what we call threshold. It's like if I took a glass here and I start pouring in it toxins, pour, there's a threshold level where what will happen? It'll overflow. And when it overflows in you, you call it dis-ease. When the body gets to the point where it goes, hey, I'm at threshold, the body's integrity is right now being challenged. We're really at a point, I got to do something now or we won't survive. And so the body goes, and it gets rid of it as fast as it can. It comes out your skin, and you call it acne. It comes out here, and you call it the polar flu. It comes between your toes, and what do you call it? Athlete's foot, right? Depends on where you go. It just depends on the location that it gets rid of things. And of course, what do we immediately do as soon as all this waste that must come out of the body starts coming out? We immediately, based on our cultural conditioning, do what? We try to stop it. So we go take some pills to take all that mucus and push it right back down into our body. Now, is that intelligent, yes or no? No. Absolutely not. I want to tell you something. These are poisons that are trying to get out of your system, and you push them back in. And the reason we see such a huge amount of cancer and so many other diseases is, over the years, you watch in your whole life, you watch millions of commercials, literally millions in your lifetime, showing you how to have instantaneous relief, but not to deal with the real source of the problem. Deal with the short-term cause, the surface cause, which is the mucus of when you're feeling uncomfortable. The real cause, the source of it all, is the way you're living your lifestyle, what you're putting in your body. So we push all this mucus back in, and as we build more and more toxicity, you know what happens? Sometimes what happens is the lymph system of the body. Lymph system's the system that is the sewage system. It cleans everything out. It'll come by and see all these toxins and protect you. It'll wrap itself around it and form what's called a what? A tumor. That's what a tumor is. It's all this waste that this lymph is wrapped around. It's all these cells that's wrapped it around, trying to protect the body until the body has enough nerve energy to eventually come in and break it down, which is what happened to my friend, by the way, the lady I told you about. All she did is she got herself in a place where she cleansed the waste out of her system. She had more nerve energy because she did the things I'm going to teach you today, and her body then had enough nerve energy to go in and slowly begin to tear down and get rid of waste. It knows how to get rid of waste. It knows how to get rid of toxins. It just doesn't have enough energy to even keep going through the day. Most people are tired by the time they get home from work, much less go out and do things and make things happen or physically exercise and so forth. So this is the process of what really causes disease. So one, what makes the poisons build up is where you're putting more in than you can eliminate. Two is biochemical additives, things your body cannot use that you find in all kinds of foods. So here's the organizing principle. Anything that my body ingests, it must assimilate or it must what? Eliminate. I am saying that any dis-ease that you experience, I don't care what you call it, is nothing but the body finding some way to get rid of the poison you put in your system. And let's use some common sense. Step over to my common sense corner here. Common sense. Let me ask you all a question, and you know the answer to this question. Okay? I want you to tell me what your body would do if I took what you know is a poison and put it into your bloodstream. If I gave you a real poison, tell me what your body would do, and let's write something here. It says, how does your body respond if you put a poison in the bloodstream? What will the body do? Raise your hand. A poison, something you know is a poison. Yes, sir. It'll fight it, but how? What will it do?
It'll try to kill it. So it'll
try and kill it. Well, kill a poison?
Well, it'll battle it and try to get it out of the body.
No, listen to what he's saying. Battle it. What will it do? What will it do? If it's a poison, there's nothing to kill. It's a poison.
Oh, okay. So it's a poison. It'll try and bring it out of the body, maybe through throwing up.
Okay. So one of the things the body will do, write it down. One of the things the body does when you give it a poison is it'll throw up. Why? Because it's trying to preserve the integrity of the body. So it uses the elimination channel that we talked about and gets it out. Because the body's at threshold, says, I'm going to have major problems or die if we don't handle this. Somebody else, what would you do what would your body do if it gets a poison? Yes, sir.
Fever.
A fever. Now, why do you get a fever when you get a poison in your body? Your body gears up. There's a poison here, so your body speeds up. Try and deal with it. As your body speeds up, it heats up. You want to know what a fever is? Try this. Go to your car, put one foot on your brake and the other foot all the way down the accelerator and hold it there for a couple hours like that. And you'll get a fever in your car. Okay? That's what happens. You're making this huge demand on the body, but at the same time, you don't have enough nerve energy to deal with it. So what happens, these two forces hit, you got it. And also when you have a fever, often you sweat. Is sweat a way for the body to get rid of poisons, yes or no? Yes. And people who are really toxic usually have night sweats, something you might want to remember later on, right? People who are really toxic have night sweats. Yes?
It would possibly try to isolate it, keep it from getting around into the other parts of the body, put mucus around it and so forth.
Put mucus around it or lymph around it, okay? Somebody else tell me, what happens if you were given a poison? What would your body do? Yes? Your body would eliminate. How?
Diarrhea.
Diarrhea, the big D. Diarrhea, the body goes, I got to get this out of here. And I got to get it out fast. That's what diarrhea is. What else? Gas, very good. Flatulence, a way that you get rid of poison, toxin, yes.
Affect like your mind and how you feel, whether it's like through a headache or dizziness or your
Would a poison give you a headache, yes or no? Why do you get a headache? Because what's happened is the bioelectrical field and the oxygen level have been interrupted by these chemicals that are in your body. That's what gives you a headache. So you get a poison, you're going to get headaches, no question. Or some actual poisons or toxins, they'll actually affect the nervous system. You could pass out. Why would you pass out? Knocks out certain bioelectrical fields, and the body is in a total survival mechanism that says, we got to take every ounce of energy the body owns and figure out how to survive right now, how to get rid of this poison. So it literally knocks you out so it has every ounce of energy it can. That's what happens when you give someone a poison. Okay, they faint. Yes, what else? Yes.
Acne or fever blisters?
Acne or fever blisters. All of a sudden, it's got all this poison, it's killing cells, and your face is one of the large luminal organs, boom, it's going to push it out. Now, I want to ask you a question. Look at all the things that we wrote down. Can we put those back up on the screen? Vomiting, fever, cramps, irritability, sweat, mucus, gas, the runs, dog breath, convulsions. I'll give you the other ones I wrote down here. Burping, blacking out, fainting, headaches, phlegm, joint pain from the poison in there, low energy, fatigue, inability to sleep, heart increase or heart decreases, kidneys that won't urinate, irritation to any of the cells in the body, perspiration. Let me ask you a very important question, and please listen right now. Think. Tell me any disease known to man that does not have these as the same symptoms. Tell me any disease. I'm saying to you, this is what your body, you told me, this is what your body will do if you give it a poison. And I said to you earlier, all disease is your body trying to eliminate poisons. And you said to me, if you poison my body, here's what my body will do to get rid of it. So now I'm saying to you, great, let's go to disease. Tell me any disease known to man that does not have these symptoms. My point is this, put in your notes this. When you have all of this energy in your body, and you put all this poison in, the body can deal with a lot. But there's a point where it's threatening the quality of your life or survival. And at that point, the body jumps to your aid and says, we're going to eject this stuff by any orifice we can find. We're going to dilute this in any way I can. Retain water, get rid of it, do whatever I can. I'm going to create diarrhea. This poison is out of here. In other words, disease is the cure. You get that? Disease is the cure. And what most of us do, as soon as we start experiencing symptoms, is we try to jam that crap back into us, and we wonder why we don't have a quality of life long term. How many get this? Say aye if you really get this. It is the cure. You don't go, I caught a cold. You didn't catch a cold. You created a cold by your lifestyle. You've built up more poison. It's gotten to the point where your body had to get rid of it. Don't stop it. Let it flow. Augment it. Drink more fluid so the body can dilute it and get it out faster. Get some rest. The body has more nerve energy and get it over it quicker. Don't stick something in there that's a virulent poison the body's got to deal with so it doesn't have any energy to get rid of the phlegm anymore. Don't dry up your nasal passageways and then wonder why you have problems later on breathing. Think about it. So in your notes, put down, disease is the cure. And a vital understanding of anything in life, this is what has made me effective in helping people emotionally, is this. The cause of my pain is rarely the source of my pain. See, most of us think as the cause is what creates things. The cause is the level that people see. The source, that's where it all happens. That's what creates the problems or the good things in your life. So we got to deal with the source. And if we deal with the source, things change. Now here's what's interesting. We've been taught it's all germs. But now we go and we say, nope. According to the medical profession, it's not germs. What do germs do? Does anybody know? Why do we have germs? Are they important? We could not survive on the planet without them. Germs are scavengers. What germs do is wherever there is weakness, wherever there is waste, germs take down waste and break it down so that now it can be absorbed into the environment. You will find germs any place you find a tremendous amount of waste, period. I'll tell you, where do we get our whole theory about germs? Who gave it to us? What's his name? Louis Pasteur. Before Louis came along, what was the cause of disease? I read it to you earlier. What was it? Evil spirits. You were sinning, right? Those kinds of things. God had done it to you. So Louis came along and he discovered these wonderful organisms through his microscope called germs. He started noticing all these different biological forms. He identified them. And he noticed that when people were sick, that there were these germs there. And he went, there's the cause. We've never been able to see it before. And everybody went, wow, what a discovery. And from then on, everybody operated from that presupposition. And I'll give you a good way to understand this, a simple way. About 12 years ago, I went to New York City for one of the first times I ever went there. And I got there, and it was during the trash strike. Anybody remember this? Maybe some of you out there in New York will remember this. In Spring Valley, if you went into Manhattan, I'm sure you remember it. Because it went on, I don't know how long it had been on when I got there, but on the streets everywhere, there was trash almost as high as people. It was unbelievably gross. The smell was foul. It was horrible. And there was an unbelievable breakout of rats everywhere in the city. It was a bad time to be in Manhattan. But you know what's interesting? How intelligent would it be for me to come by in New York and go, oh my God, look at all the trash these rats brought here. You go, Robbins, you must be new. No, you see, we brought the trash here, and that's what brought the rats, because they feed on the trash. And I go, oh, really? That's an amazing concept. Equally, it would be stupid to take someone who's died, open up their body, find all these germs, and go, look, those rats, that's what killed the person. What killed the person was the toxicity built up, and what these rats did come in as scavengers was to break it all down and feed on it. And yes, if you create enough polluted environment, you can get enough rats, they start creating their own excrement, and they make the problem worse. Same thing with microbes. How many follow the metaphor? Now, let me ask you a question. What is the traditional approach to the old paradigm of medicine, traditional American medicine, allopathic medicine, on how would you deal with a situation? You'd use the war metaphor. You would say, we must kill all the rats. And most people would agree with you, right? Because they go, look, those rats are making my life miserable. Because those rats get your attention. The trash also gets your attention, but the rats really get your attention. Because they move around and you can see them. So now you go out and try and kill all the rats. Let's say you're even successful. What will happen? More will come back. Why? Because you dealt with the cause of your upset. The cause was the rats, but you didn't deal with the source, which is the what? And the trash inside of you, the toxins, are created by your lifestyle. How many get this? So I'm not saying that germs don't exist. Of course they exist. They are your best friends unless you create an environment that attracts an overabundance of them. Now, I'll give you the scientific basis of this also, if you'd like. Turn the page. You'll see over here, by the way, on page 13, a little reminder. It says the germ theory is based on the study of interim causes of illness. Circle the word interim. It's the short term. It's right up front. Rather than the source that initiates the illness. So we want to find out the real source of illness. And so if you'll notice down here, if you'll just turn the page, let's pop on the next page. It says traditional medicine has looked for a specific germ or microbe as the cause of disease. Germs, viruses, and the terrain, the level of toxicity found in the body, are all cofactors in the manifestation of disease. In other words, I'm not saying to you that these germs don't play a role in having you have dis-ease in the body. They do, but they can't do it on their own. You have to create an environment where they multiply in an imbalanced way, where your body now no longer has the strength to deal with it. Turn to page 80, let's see where it is, 81, and I'll give you Koch's postulates, and those who are doctors in the room will tell you, in medical training, this man created basically the scientific basis for evaluating causation and disease. And Koch's postulates make it really clear why germs are not the cause of disease, and again, why Robbins and all these other people that are writing these textbooks now, the modern textbook, no longer say germs are the single cause of disease. Here's what he says. Number one, if a germ causes disease, then in any germ causes disease, definite, specific, and unique germs must, one, be found in every case of the disease. Are the germs that are supposed to cause a disease always found when the disease is present, yes or no? So here's a question. Can you have an effect without a cause? No, that's why one scientific reason why germs are not the cause of disease. Two, they must never be found apart from the disease. Is that true? No, right now you have streptococcus germs inside of you. You have pneumocystis germs. AIDS, most of the AIDS patients in the early days were all basically, they had pneumonia. Pneumocystis was the basis of it. You have pneumocystis in you right now. Tons of it. But you don't have pneumonia. So how could that be? Because it's not the cause of disease. You can't have a situation where you have the cause and not have the effect. Just like you can't have the effect without the cause and say that they relate scientifically. They don't. For germs to be the cause of disease, they must be capable of culture outside the body. Never has a culture been made with normal, healthy, living tissue. Medical theory declares that germs attack and destroy healthy tissue within the body. However, no germ has ever been known to multiply in normal tissues or normal secretions in the laboratory. Germs are seen in association with disease only in that they are feeding on decay. Until it can be demonstrated that germs have an affinity for normal, healthy tissue, the germ theory remains unsupportable. Specifically, when they grow germs in the laboratory, they do it in meat broth, in chicken broth, in all kinds of rotten eggs. They use substances that are of decay. If your body is healthy, it is not decaying inside. Because the only way to get germs to grow is to give them something that gives them life, which is decay. Germs are designed to take decay, break it down, because if it wasn't for germs, we'd all be this high in waste on the planet Earth. They're what break it down for us. So they're not the cause. And lastly, if germs cause disease, then it must be capable of producing by injection the same disease that's undergone by the body from which they were taken. So in other words, if I take out this cause out of your body that's creating pneumonia in you, and we put it in me, then it should create pneumonia in me. Is that how it works? Yes or no? No. Now, how can you say that's the cause and only works in you and doesn't work in me? Step into my common sense corner, and let's think for a moment. When is the flu season? That's right. It's right around January 1. In fact, you can chart it year by year. It's within the first week, the last week of December, first week of January, like clockwork, decade after decade. So it obviously is a bug that likes the winter and probably sleeps in the summer. Okay? Now, we are taught that this is created by a whole variety of strains of these bugs that come after us. And what's really interesting about this is these bugs always come at us only at this time of year. They attack viciously, and they affect us. Now, what are the symptoms of the flu? Fever, diarrhea, sweats, fatigue, lymph nodes enlarging. What do your lymph nodes do? They strain the toxicity from your body. And if I overuse a muscle, what does it do? If I demand more from a muscle, it gets what? Bigger, it swells up, right? So this is the basic fundamentals of what the flu is. Now, let's pretend just for a moment that we didn't have a traditional education and we actually had common sense. Just pretend. And we wanted to see why is it that so many people suddenly are coughing and sneezing and got all this excess phlegm and got diarrhea and feel tired right around January 1. Let's just try and use a little common sense just for a moment. Let's see if there's anything that might relate to that. How many of you remember where you were last Thanksgiving? Come on, how many remember? Say aye. Where were you? How many were at a large meal on that day? Can I see your hands? Now, what happens at this meal? Everybody comes together to see their family. They're happy about that. And as they arrive together to be with the family, have this feast. And of course, everybody wanting to be healthy, they organize the meal in an appropriate way to make sure they have plenty of oxygen and nerve energy as a result of this meal. Is that true? Yes or no? No. In my family, man, it didn't matter how hard things were, how tough things were. My dad, my mom always found a way, and we had the turkey, this big mother of a turkey. We ate bologna sandwiches most days, but we had a turkey on Thanksgiving, right? And sure enough, we had ham too. Turkey and ham. Two big toxic things to jam into our body, right? And then we didn't stop there. We had lots of mashed potatoes and lots of meat gravy, right? And made sure we had some of that Melinsa and some of that token vegetable on the side, stuffing, all these things. And what did you do? You probably sat down and said, I'd like an appropriate amount of food in order to really maintain the vitality of my life. Is that what you did? Yes or no? No, what did you do? You pigged out, didn't you? And by the way, I ate so much in those days, man, I ate so much, my stomach was swollen. Right? And then what'd you do? Then you barely could make it away from the table, right? He struggled to get to a chair, right? And he got to the chair and somebody said, pumpkin pie? And you went, Okay. And then you put some coffee in on top of that. All right, maybe some ice cream on top of the pumpkin pie just to make sure you get a little more phlegm inside of you. And now your body's going, what are you doing? And so then what'd you do? Did you go, oh, wow, done with my meal. Now time to go out and let's go have some fun. Let's go play some sports. No, what did you do? You went to sleep. Why did you go to sleep? Because your body went, you sucker, you sit down right now. I got to go to work. Right? Body's all working here. And by the way, after Thanksgiving, did it end there? Oh, no, because you looked just at, you went, wait. I'm going to go on my diet later. I know I'm not being good. But look, Christmas is just around the corner. Right? And of course, there's the office parties, right? And of course, at the office parties, we never put the product of decay in our body in mass, like alcohol. And of course, it doesn't end there. We make it to Christmas. By the way, during this time of year, is there more nerve energy being expended anyway? What is it about the season that would cause your body to have to use more nerve energy? The shock and stress of two things. Temperature changes in 90% of the population, in terms of the season changes. And when it gets cold, your body has to use more nerve energy just to protect itself. Major difference. What else happens this time of year besides all this? The emotional stress. Does that use energy, yes or no? How many of you expend a lot more energy during the holidays? Say aye. Why? Because for you, what happens during that time is you expend good energy. You're excited. That takes more energy. You got your normal life you're living, plus you've added all this new stuff to it. And by the way, for that point, most people are at threshold. Plus, most people in lots of parts of the country bundle up. They're actually keeping their body's ability to get rid of things in. They're actually heating it up. So now the body's got to try and warm itself up, cool itself down. It's constantly going like this. All of those things would be enough to stress your body a little bit, but then you add to it the lifestyle people have during their holidays. The weather alone could start to create more demands. If you're healthy, the weather's no problem. Your body knows how to adapt to that. But if you have been using your energy all year long and now you go into a cold season, not a cold, this kind of cold, temperature cold, there's a shock to the system. The body knows how to adjust. But when you're already at the edge of threshold because you've been going like crazy and don't have enough nerve energy, all it takes a little bit to kick you over. And now all the poison that's been in there jumps out. So, for example, you can see this all over the world. It doesn't have to be Christmas time. But here we add to it the wonderful American lifestyle of, okay, it's Christmas. What happens at Christmas? Do you eat real white on Christmas? Yes or no? Hell no. You go to Christmas, what do? It's turkey and ham time again. Usually, by the way, did you make enough turkey that you had lots of turkey sandwiches, turkey pies, turkey everything for about a week afterwards? Right? So sure enough, now you do it again. And by the way, in a Christmas, you barely can walk or move once again. Do you stop there? No, look, New Year's is just down the corner. Right? And on New Year's Eve, in order to start your New Year right, what do? You think, I want to be so conscious in this new year. You probably sit down and set all your goals, right? Do a whole goal-setting workshop that night. What do you usually do on New Year's? You drink alcohol, the product of decay. There are only a few things the body cannot use at all that are total poisons. Alcohol is one of them. Alcohol instantly, the minute you put it in your bloodstream, it goes right through your tongue before you even swallow. It goes right in your bloodstream, unfiltered. It radically destroys the oxygen level in your brain. A sip of alcohol, and you've destroyed brain cells instantaneously. I'll show you the research. I'm not making this up. Instantaneously. Right? But you don't just take a little sip. It's time to celebrate the coming of a new year in a peak state. So now you drink and you wake up next morning, oh my God, you feel sick, and maybe you vomit, and you worship the porcelain god, right? And you got this fever, and you look on the paper and it goes, flu break. All over the country, you go, that flu bug, God, got me, man. Now, if it happens the next day, most of you get it. But usually it doesn't happen the next day. It's within a couple of days or a week. And you've been feeling run down probably before that. And you get all this place, you go, oh man, I can't believe it. And you know what's really interesting? It's always a special kind of flu bug. It's always a commie bug. Yeah, it's always a commie bug. It's the Beijing flu. It's the Russian flu. Yeah, it's always some commie bug coming over here to wreck our holidays. Tell you what, you want to have some fun? Let's read some real newspaper articles. These are real. U.S., quote, blame the what virus? Beijing, another commie out there. Another commie. Blame the Beijing virus for the aches and pains that deck the holidays. Welcome to 1994, now get right back into bed. If you're like thousands of others, you got more than you asked for during the season of giving. While you and your family gathered around the punch bowl, you shared more than good cheer. And now, because of that punch bowl, which didn't have any alcohol in it, and now you have aches and pains, chills, a sore throat, maybe even a queasy tummy. You have the flu. Check it out. It's rampant on the land, felling healthy men and women like oaks to the axe and leaving offices bereft of workers. Flu has been reported in 42 states. I can't imagine why. As widespread as Florida to Maine and Oregon and parts of a dozen other states, says the National Centers for Disease Control. Quote, it's a pretty good assumption that we're starting to peak right now, says Steve Jegler. Yes, because they can predict when it's going to happen each year based on lifestyle. He said Steve Jegler, who, by the way, is the brand name manager for Sucrets, whose parent company, Smith Klein Beecham, sponsors a weekly flu alert. What does Smith Klein Beecham make? I don't want you to believe in marketing or anything. Here's what I like. After polling 1,680 medical personnel in 70 regional markets, research projects that you represent 107 million people, this is what they're claiming. This is the drug companies claiming. 43% of the U.S. population has flu symptoms right now. 43%. Give me a break. When have you seen half the population do anything? They can't even agree on what sex means. How could they even have disease the same way? Check it out. This is from USA Today. This is this last year. Drop down to the next paragraph, signage monitor. Go down to where it says pharmaceutical, about 6 lines down. Pharmaceutical companies make how many? 50 million doses that they sell every year. So it has to be done early. By the end of February, we have to have made all the decisions for what they're going to make and sell you next year is the virus. It's not even here yet. He says it's not always easy and predictable. Obviously, the closer we are to being accurate, the more protection you have. They're not even accurate, he admits it. But if we're fairly close, it's better. You guys get this? Now, turn the page and look what the flu vaccine is. This is how you're going to protect yourself from these evil commie bugs. The flu vaccines are nurtured on what? Underline those 3 words. Decomposed proteins of animals, egg, or human origin. In addition, the following chemicals are used. Formaldehyde, which is used to embalm corpses. That's what you put in your body to protect yourself from the mucus that comes from the way you eat and live. Sodium phosphate, sodium chloride, sodium, I can't even pronounce it, right? And thimerosal, which is a mercury derivative. Mercury is a virulent poison. So to make sure that you may not have some sore throat or cough or a little diarrhea, let's stick some animal, egg, and human toxicity of proteins directly into your bloodstream, into that delicate chemical balance, just to protect you in case it may show up tomorrow from Beijing.